Hi, my name is Sam, and I'm a crew leader at the Acton Wakefield Watersheds Alliance. I grew up in Wakefield, so I know that the lakes bring a lot of vitality and joy to our community. In fact, that's one of the reasons I joined AWWA 7 years ago. With my long stay at AWWA, I've been able to see the organization change from a group of concerned citizens into a major organization which helps to protect the lakes in Maine and New Hampshire. We've added a lot of new programs over the past several years. In fact, we added so many that we thought it would be a good idea to make a video and show you guys what we've been up to and what we as an organization are all about. I really hope you guys enjoy it.
Water is the defining characteristic of our planet, what allows life to flourish. And yet the overwhelming majority of this water is inaccessible to us, locked away in oceans or glaciers. In fact, only 2.5% of water on Earth is fresh, and only 1% of that is accessible to humans. This lack of clean water makes it important to protect what little we have. The Acton Wakefield Watersheds Alliance was formed in 2005 to protect the waters in the border region of Acton, Maine and Wakefield, New Hampshire, through fixing pollution problems and educating citizens about how what we do on land impacts water quality. The Acton Wakefield Watersheds Alliance, or AWWA, was formed to combat a variety of threats to the healthy waters in the watersheds of Acton and Wakefield. Just what do we mean when we say watershed? Well, a watershed is simply an area of land which drains into a common body of water. It can range in size from as small as a puddle to as large as an ocean. They are also stacked within one another, almost like a Russian doll. For example, the Level Lake watershed lies within the Salmon Falls watershed, which also lies within the Atlantic watershed. This means that a drop of water that lands on the roof of Town Hall in Wakefield has potential to make its way all the way to the Atlantic Ocean. There are two primary terms for sources of pollution that can enter a lake. The first is point source pollution. The easiest way to think of this is as pollution which we can see entering a body of water, such as culverts or pipes entering a lake. The second kind of pollution is non-point source pollution. This comes from a variety of sources and is carried into lakes and streams by runoff when it rains and when the snow melts in spring. In the Acton-Wakefield area, the biggest threat of pollution is erosion. When it rains, stormwater runoff flows over impervious surfaces, such as rooftops, roads, and driveways. The force of this water will lift sediment that is in its path. As the water picks up speed, it gains more force and has the ability to lift up more pollutants. The results can be devastating blowouts. When stormwater picks up sediment, it has the opportunity to pick up a variety of other pollutants, such as animal waste, fertilizer, and organic materials. These chemicals all contain phosphorus, which acts like a plant fertilizer to contribute to an overload of nutrients in the lake. When this happens, algae blooms can form and spread across the lake. In addition to destroying the aesthetic value of a lake, algae blooms can have devastating ecological and economic impacts. When algae blooms form, they can block out sunlight needed by aquatic plants. When the algae and plants die and decompose, bacteria eat up oxygen needed by fish and aquatic insects. These organisms are killed off by the lack of oxygen. The increase in sediment can also bounce sunlight off of the particles, heating the body of water up past its normal ranges. This makes survival more difficult for native plants, insects, and fish. In addition to the environmental impacts, a damaged aquatic ecosystem can have massive economic impacts as well. As lakes get dirtier, the value of homes on the lakes drops by as much as 10% for every 3 feet of water visibility lost. This loss of property value is bad for the property owner and local governments who rely on property tax revenue to pay for roads, schools, and police departments. Poor water quality can also affect local economies by reducing the recreational value of a lake. When tourism drops due to poor water quality, tackle shops, marinas, restaurants, grocery stores, and inns can all experience a drop in revenue. To fight all the various sources of pollutants, the Acton Wakefield Watersheds Alliance has enacted several means of fighting stormwater runoff. AWWA has become a leader in fixing roads with stormwater runoff and erosion issues. AWWA also has new outreach programs which reach out to children in the school system, teaching them about watershed science and aquatic ecosystems. It is our hope that by educating future generations to value our waters, we can continue to maintain the cleanliness of our beautiful lakes. As AWWA continues to grow, our biggest means of preventing erosion remains the Youth Conservation Corps, or YCC. The YCC started with a pilot program in 2005 and has been steadily growing in effectiveness and productivity ever since. The Acton Wakefield Watersheds Alliance utilizes the YCC to create demonstration projects on lakefront and riverfront properties. These projects place best management practices, or BMPs, on these waterfront properties. The goal of these BMPs is to ultimately prevent the polluted runoff from entering the lake, either by filtering out pollutants, diverting runoff into vegetated areas or depressions, or allowing it to infiltrate into soils. One such BMP is the rubber razor. The rubber razor is a wide piece of rubber positioned between two pieces of thinner wood. The wood is buried, leaving the rubber exposed. The rubber then diverts water off into a vegetated or retention area. What's great about the rubber razor is its capability to be driven over. This allows the rubber razor to be placed in dirt or gravel driveways. The AWWA YCC also installs infiltration steps, which allow runoff and rainfall to slowly trickle down into the groundwater, leaving sediment behind. These steps also decrease the foot traffic across the rest of the property, keeping it from becoming impervious and allowing vegetation to grow while giving stable, reliable footing to property owners. Rain gardens are another feature that the YCC installs. To make a rain garden, the YCC first digs a depression in an area which receives high flow. At first, the hole is filled with sand on the bottom, then a mix of sand and loam, then pure loam, which the plants are placed in at the top. The plants placed in the rain garden are native and tolerant to both wet and dry conditions. Now that we know something about BMPs, let's see how the AWWA YCC has put them to use as we view some of the YCC's 2012 projects.
And here we installed a set of infiltration steps lined with stone and mulch. It was pretty much just the water was coming down the driveway and then it just poured right through here, pushing all the sediment down there. There was actually full trenches of where the water was actually pouring through. So we came through and actually we start down at the very bottom and then built up, and we ran into some areas where there were too big of stones that we couldn't move. So we put some certain bends in the steps, which actually made it work even better. And then most of the stone you see on the side, like the larger ones, we actually dug out of the ground and lined the entire thing with. So we used everything that we can that we actually ended up pulling out. And we filled these with stone, as you can see, and all the water would come through and just filter right through to the ground. It just makes it so it breaks up everything more and no sediment actually reaches the bottom. And then if we can walk down.
This stone on the outside edge of the mulch, that's the main waterway. And there was a lot of the water goes through that stone.
Sediment infiltration steps we did. While some of us were working over there, we had the crew kind of split up and they were digging this. And this was where it was not only the water coming down from the front, but also from the gutters themselves. So we actually put in 2 dry wells at the end of each gutter. So it would actually collect all the water and then it would filtrate the water that would come down here. The steps would catch them. And so in some steps we'll actually put a water bar at the top, which would actually help divert a lot more water and let it sink underneath. And then so we did that up at the top and then continued the steps. Then we took stone and lined the sides, filled it, and then we did ECM, erosion control mix, at the top. so the water would actually slow down and then more would soak in, so it wouldn't take all the blunt force of the step. And you can actually see where some water would actually flow over when there's an actual big rainstorm. And now it's pretty much leveled off. We control most of it, and it's just better off, easy to filter in with all the stone that we laid out up on the top.
The crew was terrific. Dustin brought his expertise and helped us to figure out what we needed to do because we were clueless. We moved in last fall. We sort of had a river running on either side of the house, the way the driveway comes down, and it just funneled, so there was lots of erosion, exposed tree roots. These guys came in and gave us a spec list of what to get. People around were very helpful in deliveries, and so we had piles of things waiting, and they came in and spent the better part of 4 days here, really just working, very solid working. I was impressed. There's lots of drills and things running, but you know, it just kept moving. They did a great job, and since then it's worked fine. We had one of those massive storms, so some of the mulch moved around a little bit, and we raked it back, and that's really the last time we've had to do any raking. So we think it's great. It's just been a great experience.
Thank you for hosting them.
Oh.
Yeah.
This was way better than when I heard.
Alright, so I'm Brandon, I'm the rookie. And what this is a rain garden, and what we do is we dig 3 feet down and we put first like soil back in, new soil, and then we put compost for the second layer, and then we put loam on the top. And what it does when massive amounts of water come down into the garden, it like filters it and makes it a lot better. And we plant vegetation so it doesn't break up, and a lot of the water just goes down right there.
Where's it coming from, the water?
This hill right here. So
Coming down this side?
yes, this is one of the major ones.
That drain pipe that we were talking about at the very top, most of that water ends up down in this particular section, which is why it's we do a riprap armament on the inlet to protect that from blowing out and slow the water down so it can infiltrate.
Yep. And we also mulched all down here. We did all this. So yeah, that took a while to do.
Was this all bare?
Do you remember what this looked like when we did our paddle?
Yes.
This was basically bare fill.
And we also put a water bar right here because obviously nothing was stopping the water from going right to the lake. So for that, pretty simple. We also did 2 more rain gardens over here. Yeah, we did this rain garden too, and we had to put 2 here because it was one storm came in, it was really bad, and landowners, like, it kind of, it worked, but like we needed another one to help support it because that's all that water's just coming right down here, and needed a second one to help the first one out.
Which was the first one?
This one, yeah.
How deep do you go?
For the first one we did, it was probably...
For the rain gardens, we do 3 feet down. All this.
The rain gardens are very dependent on the runoff area. You know, it's usually, we try to design them about 20% the size of the runoff area. So if you have 1,000 square feet rushing to it, you want your rain garden to be about 200 square feet. Now you can adjust those sizes based on depth. If you can get down deeper, you can create a much larger storage area. And we usually dig down 3 feet, and we'll put in maybe it could be upwards of a foot of sand at the base in order to increase the porosity. Then we start doing an 80-20 mix of sand and loam. Then we'll move to 60-40, and then we'll loam the top, just increasing that that storage space and porosity, getting water to go down. The goal of these things is to pond right up to that berm during a rainstorm, and then about an hour afterwards, we like to see that water dissipate. So we don't end up with a mosquito breeding ground, we don't end up with dead plants or swampy, marshy plants.
Sediment was just washing down into the beach, and what rubber raisers do is it just redirects all the sediment and water going into a dry well and just off the side so it doesn't go into the water.
Is the dry well down at this end?
Yes, there's a dry well on both of them. And it catches the water and puts it in the ground. They put some soil, or not soil, mulch over there to kind of catch the water before it was going in.
That was all ground, right? It's gonna be.
I don't know, he ordered that and just, he got a lot more than we needed. I guess he's gonna do some of his own project.
He got a really good price on a lot more. I did not tell him to order 14 yards, for the record.
Justin told me to get 4 yards.
I thought it was going to say 14.
Better be on the safe side.
I did the same thing.
Oh, it cost me $10 more for 14 than just
Oh my God. Why is that? Is that?
No, I just, yeah.
With AWWA committed to protecting our lakes, there is hope for their future. Each year, the AWWA YCC helps keep tons of sediment out of our lakes. However, we do need your help. AWWA is always seeking volunteers and donations to assist with the many activities and services we organize within the community, and your help is needed. Give us a call at 603-473-2500 or email us at info@awwatersheds.org. You can also visit our website at awwatersheds.org. We look forward to hearing from you.